Lately, the internet has been flooded with searches for 67 toddler behavior problems, leaving parents panicked about dozens of distinct psychological issues. This trend has spilled over into reality. Teachers are reporting constant disruptions from kids shouting, while anxious parents are scouring the web to find out what this mysterious list actually means for their child. But if you dig into the pediatric databases, you will find no recognized medical framework that identifies exactly 67 distinct problems. What we are seeing is an algorithmic hallucination. Search engines have mashed together three completely unrelated things: a bizarre Gen Alpha classroom meme, a standard 67-item clinical behavior checklist used by psychiatrists, and a 67% off discount for an online parenting course. This digital confusion is actively distracting parents. While they search for an imaginary list, they are missing the physical crisis happening inside a toddler's brain during a tantrum. To understand why a 2-year-old is screaming on the grocery store floor, we have to look past internet search results and examine their biology. Every outburst represents a biological hijacking of a nervous system that hasn't finished developing yet. Solving early childhood dysregulation means ignoring these viral myths and focusing completely on the physical anatomy of the developing brain. This diagram highlights the prefrontal cortex. In adults, it acts as a stop button for logic and impulse control, but for toddlers, it's functionally offline, not maturing until age 4. Without these breaks, the amygdala, the threat detection center, takes complete control during high stress. Because of this anatomical reality, a dysregulated toddler physically lacks the neurological hardware required to simply choose to calm down. Clinicians and parents need to differentiate between two completely different types of early childhood outbursts because they require entirely different responses. The first is a temper tantrum. This is a goal-directed behavior. A child wants a toy or a snack, and the crying ceases the exact moment that specific demand is met by the caregiver. The second type is a sensory meltdown. This is an involuntary biological survival state triggered by environmental overstimulation. During a meltdown, attempts to negotiate or use logic will fail. The amygdala has hijacked the nervous system, completely cutting off the child's ability to process verbal reasoning. Misdiagnosing a sensory meltdown as a behavioral tantrum leads to discipline strategies that only escalate the child's distress. Clinical studies consistently show that harsh, coercive discipline actively compromises a child's long-term ability to self-regulate. This visualizes the trap of punitive isolation, like traditional timeouts. A parent's frustration leads to isolating the child, which triggers increased defiance, feeding right back into the parent's frustration. Modern developmental psychology points to an alternative called time-ins, which rely on a process known as co-regulation. Co-regulation works by using the parent's physical presence. By holding the child and maintaining a steady heartbeat, the caregiver acts as an external regulatory system to soothe the child's dysregulated nervous system. Research confirms that caregiver responsiveness and warmth act as a long-term protective buffer, lowering the chances a child will develop disruptive classroom behaviors later on. Which brings us back to that viral 67 classroom meme. Psychologists note that when kids repeatedly shout random numbers, it is usually a simple developmental bid for peer belonging, rather than malicious disruption. Teachers have found a strategy for neutralizing the trend. They incorporate the number 67 heavily into their own everyday adult vocabulary, instantly stripping the meme of its cool factor. Whether you are dealing with viral internet slang in a classroom or a neurobiological meltdown in a grocery store, the most effective response is the same. You simply absorb the chaos and neutralize it with connection, rather than attempting to control it with force.